The second story of the day, I really want you guys to hear this because it's important. It's about the Parkland shooting in Florida, in Broward County, the sketchiest county in the United States, where everything just mysteriously happens, like all the bad stuff in the world. But anyway, I'm sure it's beautiful there too. Not hating on it, but Broward County, Florida, had a shooting at Parkland. I think it was like Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, it was called. And if you look up, just a side note, very interesting. I'm not starting a theory. I'm just saying Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, who the school was named after, she was most famous for, I believe, trying to stop the swamp from being drained. Literally, she was like a environmental activist of sorts who was trying to stop them from draining the swamp in Florida. Very interesting stuff, but that's just a side note that most people don't know. Look her up, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, something like that. I'm sorry. So people got murdered at the school, if you guys remembered. It was awful. Kids got killed. And then immediately there was a town hall in CNN. And at that town hall, they said, gun control, it's the gun's fault. You know, it's the NRA's fault. The NRA's terrorists. It's all your fault. So they pushed their political agenda before they really researched what happened at Parkland. And then we found out that that kid was reported to the FBI 6 or 7 times. He was reported to the school. But the craziest thing was that the on-duty person at the school hid outside the school like a coward. No offense, but if that's your job, I mean, you're going to let kids get murdered. I'm not saying I'm a security guard or anything, so I don't want to judge, but it's like, okay. And then the police force, literally the people you pay to protect your city, that's their job. They came and they stood outside. Instead of going inside, that's literally what you're supposed to do when there's an active shooter. They've even admitted it. Instead of charging in and going after the shooter, they hid outside like cowards and said, oh, we're gonna make sure that no one gets outside. So here's the crazy part. So I'm just giving you a side note. That's all the stuff that happened that the news doesn't want to talk about. One of the kids, I believe his name is something Pollock, Andrew Pollock. His son died in the Parkland shooting, or his daughter. I'm not really sure. Sorry about that. But he showed a video of Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel admitting that the commander-in-chief, the woman who was in charge of everybody standing outside instead of rushing the school, was chosen not because of the content of her character or the qualification of her skill. He admitted that she was chosen because of diversity. And you could watch the clip yourself. If this is on YouTube, I'm probably going to link it now and let you see it. But he says, oh, you know, they were saying we needed a more diverse police staff, and they're totally right. That's what the sheriff was saying. He's like, so I looked at their diversity, you know, options, and I picked Jan Jordan, I believe her name was. So the woman who's responsible for the entire police force standing outside of the school while children were getting murdered, instead of going inside, was not chosen because of her skill set or content of character. She was specifically chosen because she was a woman. And this is why I can't stand identity politics. And this is why I'm disenfranchised with the left wing, because I'm a classic liberal Martin Luther King. I don't care if you're black. I literally don't care if you're Hispanic or you're a woman. I don't really even care if you're transgender or like any Muslim. I really don't. What I care about is, are you qualified for the job? Are you the best person for the job? Are you a good person? Are you somebody that I like? Are you somebody that I trust? These are the things that matter to me. But the left doesn't care about that. They'll hire somebody specifically because she's a woman, and they have real life consequences, like children getting murdered while the police stand outside. It happens all over the place because this is the opposite of good. Like, this is evil. I'm not saying people are evil. They're misled. They're foolish. They're naive. They're hurt. They're lost. But this agenda is evil because it categorizes, okay, white male or men or whatever the flavor of the day is, bad, inherently bad, privileged, terrible, responsible, women, good, women, higher, Muslim, good, Christian, bad, Jewish, bad, Muslim, perfect, Honduran, perfect, Mexico, perfect. If Mexicans are so perfect, why are you causing a humanitarian crisis there? It's like, we love Mexicans, but we're going to tell 20,000 Hondurans to just come into the because they don't have the ability to understand. There's a lot of people in Honduras that are great people. There's a lot of people that are victims to what's going on in Honduras, but there's also a lot of not great people that you want in your country, whether it's Honduras, Libya, Syria. There's people who are causing the humanitarian crisis, and it's not all the United States. Some of it's responsible, and there's other countries responsible, but if you judge people by content of character, you can decipher who's who. You could say, okay, well, these Hondurans we want. These Hondurans we don't want. These people are criminals. They have rape records, okay? This guy has tuberculosis. This, you know, like, you could qualify people into, like, who they are, what they're... But if you just say Hondurans, good, no matter who they are, they're great. White people who disagree, bad. Black people who disagree, bad. Men, bad. Women, good. This is what happens. Children get murdered at schools, and women stand outside because she's not qualified for the job. She's not the best person to be the captain commander of Broward County. She's specifically chosen because she's a woman. And this is the overarching agenda that's on the left. And if it's not, if somebody's watching and they say, I'm a liberal and I'm a progressive, or I don't feel that way, then tell Huffington Post, tell Vox, tell the Young Turks, tell pretty much every single progressive or liberal out there. That's what they do. That's all they're doing. They don't care about content of character. They literally group people by tribes, and they say, you're inherently guilty, you're inherently innocent, you're inherently the oppressor, you're inherently the victim, and we're sticking to that, and it's a very evil agenda that will have very evil consequences, because that's what happens when you don't have rationality or common sense or logic, and you specifically just see race. White man voted, black people voted. Why didn't black man vote? Why didn't black woman say what I... It's really sick. It's disgusting, and it really makes me uncomfortable that the Parkland shooting, which was politicized to attack the NRA as terrorist organization, when they're literally law-abiding citizens who don't really commit crimes. They protect the country. They're the real men and women in chaos and in war who will actually man up to the job and do something, not the soft people. Oh, shit. Something just cracked, but it's something outside. It's not a big deal. It's a piece of glass I have outside. I guess it's really windy and raining, so I apologize if you heard that crash. I'm not getting invaded. Overall, that's the story. Identity politics in Parkland. These are all the things the news won't talk about. They ruin things, they mess up with their agenda, and then they shift it 180 and then blast it onto everybody else. On that note, very appropriately, man, I got to clean up that glass after this. Apologize about that. Appropriately, the next story is about Huffington Post. They've really lost it since Ariana Huffington sold her news station or whatever, Huffington Post. It's gotten absolutely ridiculous. I saw my friend Jacob, I don't know if he's still in here, but he used to write for the Huffington Post, and he's like a left-leaning progressive, but he actually did good articles, and they actually stopped employing and letting good left-leaning journalists put articles out there. They like went so far off the fringe, they don't even like good lefties who do good articles. So like Huffington Post completely lost it. Race, religion, gender, like I have 18 cats, I hate myself. Totally bad vibes over there. But what really annoyed me is because I like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'm a little bit biased, you know, I like Christmas time. I think Rudolph is a really nice story about perseverance and being the outcast. You know, it's like you're the weirdo in the group, but like you make it anyway and you're special. That's literally what Rudolph is about. It's like he has a weirdo nose and, you know, nobody likes him until they realize that his weirdo nose saves the day and he's the hero. So it's like a beautiful story. If you're the oppressed victim, like the left thinks they are, you could watch that and be like, man, that inspires me. Like, I'm going to go fly, or, you know, I'm going to go work for Santa one day, or whatever. Overall, it's like a story of perseverance and being the outcast. But ridiculous, Huffington Post says that Rudolph is not diverse enough. They have huge diversity problems, and that I don't even know. I couldn't even watch the whole video. It's like, it's reeking with racism and sexism, and it's so bad. And it's just like, what don't you want to ruin, Huffington Post? What sanctity or like thing in culture do you not want to destroy? Like, we had comedy, they're trying to ruin that. We have like Christmas, they're trying to ruin that. When families come together, we have Thanksgiving, they already ruined that. Although I still enjoy myself. You know, genders, man, woman, transgender, people switching, that's cool. But now there's 50 genders, and if you disagree, you're gonna get kicked off Twitter. You're like, okay, all right, this is getting a little weird. And then it's like, no, gender doesn't exist. And you're like, all right, now this is getting pretty weird. And then it's like, you know, like, it's just so strange. I don't know what to say, but I'm gonna fight on the front lines for Christmas. God bless you, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Excuse me. I know you're a fictional character. You can't stand up for yourself, but I will stand up for you. Don't ruin Christmas. Stop ruining Christmas movies. And my takeaway from this before I go on, this is the greatest time maybe in American history. This is the greatest time maybe in human history. And you know how I know this? Because, especially in America now, if you were in Libya or you're in Syria or you're in Honduras or somewhere else, I'm not saying everybody, but some people, your question is not, can I wake up today and make up oppression that doesn't really exist because I'm so spoiled, rotten, and privileged? You're like, have real life consequences to deal with. Like Syria, you know, they wake up and they're like, is Al-Qaeda or Al-Nusra, are they gonna like attack my family today? Am I gonna get, you know, attacked by a terrorist attack because the United States and others decided to fund rebels and topple the Syrian regime? You know, in Libya, you're like, here, am I gonna get enslaved parts of India? You know, there's a lot of Hindus and Sikhs who say that they're persecuted by extremist radicals all the time. So it's like, there's a lot of things. There's billions of people in the world who don't have access to clean sanitation when it comes to the water system. So you have to ask yourself, how much more privilege could you possibly get if your idea of oppression and your idea of being discriminated against is digging so deep to sitting on a supercomputer, a smartphone, or like a $2,000 Apple computer, drinking a coffee like I do, and then saying, you know what, I'm gonna write an article and make a video about how Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is really sexist and discriminatory. They think that this makes them like the all-being victim, and this makes them like, oh, I'm such a good feminist or an activist. It just makes you look like the biggest loser and the most pathetic phony on the planet. When there's people getting bombed and murdered because of your bad reporting, and you literally think you're like a social justice warrior because you're writing about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This doesn't make you look oppressed. This makes you look privileged. All the privilege that you say have other people. I don't care what gender or race you are. If you have time to sit there and make a video and an article about how you think Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is discriminatory, congratulations, you just proved my point. You're living in the golden era of humanity where we have smartphones and cars and Uber Eats and people will deliver hot delivered food to your door. Like literally it's steaming hot for $15. It's like the greatest time ever. My grandfather had to wear potato sack underwear because they didn't have money. You'll never catch me. You'll never catch me sitting here complaining and crying about a video, Christmas movie that you don't have to watch. It's just so annoying because they think it makes them look good and it makes them look like they care about people, but it really just exposes how ridiculously privileged and spoiled they are and how they are not grateful for anything. It's absolutely insane. Long live Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I will not submit. I will not back down. I will stand up for Rudolph because God knows he can't stand up for himself. He's not really real. Or is he? Who knows? The next story of the day is about the Trump and General Motors clash. So